Good evening, everyone. Welcome once again to Spinistry Live. I am your race host, Kevin Lee. And tonight we kind of have a somewhat special edition of Spinistry Live. Things are a little bit different than usual, not going over race routes specifically or anything related to a certain event. We are going to kind of give a quickie overview of some of the things that are coming down the pike right around the corner in Spinistryville and even deeper into 2020. Y'all have probably noticed we have a lot of things moving and shaking, a lot of things going on, a lot of updates popping up on social media in our calendar. So just to allay any confusion or lay a little bit of groundwork so y'all can stay up to date and in the loop as much as possible. We're going to outline some of the things we have working and the logic of it, and maybe some of the newer things that are coming and some of the off the wall things that might be in the mix as well. And to kind of start that off, we're combining a little bit of the old with the new. We're going to talk do a quick wrap up on this past weekend's event up in Paris, Texas, the Ride the Net, which is also we're introducing a new little brass ring for people to shoot for if it's in their wheelhouse for things they want to do. But to touch on that a little bit, really want to thank Paris, Texas, Lamar County, the Lamar County Chamber of Commerce, Love Civic Center. I don't know how up to speed you guys are on it, but Paris and Lamar County are wanting to become a cycling destination. They are doing a lot of things to reach out to us and to you guys and show y'all a lot of love. We kicked off some new additions to the Northeast Texas Trail this weekend with our Ride the Net. I think everybody had a fantastic time. As a result of that, we have some new routes that we're going to be doing a lot with. We'll talk about more of that in a future broadcast. But rest assured, if you use Paris, Texas as a hub for your cycling activities, you've got plenty to do day in, day out. And we're gonna help fill in some of those unknowns for folks in the very near future. We basically using Paris as a hub in the Love Civic Center, which does have RV hookups for folks with campers and trailers that want to stay overnight. We have a combination of loops utilizing the Net Trail and the fabulous dirt roads network they have in Lamar County for what can be a full weekend's worth of adventure for everyone. And that's just going to get better over time as the new pieces of the net come together. So whenever you're thinking of the Northeast Texas Trail going forward, we definitely highly encourage you to think of Paris as your base of operations. And it won't be very long before you can use that as your end-to-end point. And maybe from time to time, we'll help out with some shuttling services and things like that. We'll talk more about those things down the road. The one wrap-up I do want to bring up from Ride the Net, we did have a 100-plus mile route in it that utilized a large segment of the Net Trail from the Sulphur River to Bagwell, which basically from Blossom to Bagwell is a new section of net that most everyone would be unfamiliar with unless you rode Ride the Net this weekend. And I think anyone that rode it is going to tell you it was a fantastic ride. And what we're introducing in conjunction with that and select Spinistry events going forward, we're going to kind of create what we call a 14er list. That's basically folks that are able to pull off a 100-mile Spinistry route at a total time average of 14 miles an hour or better. We had, I believe, 8 people that rolled out on the 100-miler at Ride the Net this weekend, and 2 of them were able to surpass that goal. And we'll talk, I'll give you those names. I'll demonstrate the list and the functionality of that shortly. But when we do have these 14er events, the 14er list, people that make the list, we're going to make up some stickers for them that they can use however they want to. So here's an example of the 2 people that did the Ride the Net. the stickers that'll be coming to them. We've also announced a couple of other events just around the corner that will be for 100-mile and up routes eligible for that recognition. The Holiday Ramble on December 21st. We will have a 100-mile option that is 14er eligible. And then the Texas Chainring Massacre in January. Off the top of my head, I believe it's the 25th. We'll see here shortly, because I'm going to show everybody exactly how to see what events are coming and how they're structured and things like that. So if you think you might want to be a century rider with some Spinistry events and gravel roads and things like that, we think this is a really good incentive to focus on pulling off that century, but also take it to that next level. 14 miles an hour over a century, that's a pretty good clip, but generally pretty attainable for most. Obviously, it's going to depend on the course itself and the route. Ride the Net is one that is particularly tough. That is a slower route for multiple reasons. It's not a particularly hard from a technical standpoint route, but just the features of the trailway itself basically mean you're always pedaling. There's really no coasting, there's no stopping, and conditions were a little damp. They weren't muddy this weekend, but when it's a little damp like that, just that the trail surface is a little bit stickier, and we say it's Velcro trail at that point, and it's not free rolling. So only a couple people were able to pull off 14 mile an hour plus. But that was a very impressive performance on Ride the Net. With Holiday Ramble, we expect that to be a lot more people that pull that in. And then the Texas Chainring Massacre obviously is one of our fastest events with the level of competition that's involved as well. So those are a couple of the new, again, brass rings that people can reach for that'll be coming with the Spinistry 100-mile plus events. But also after the Texas Chainring Massacre, once we start our February events, the 100-miler qualification is going to start kicking in at that point. It's not going to be a super high threshold or anything like that, but we know we're going to have more people that are wanting to compete in these 100-mile plus events. But the reality is, these aren't meant to be somebody's first 100-mile event. This isn't meant to be your first century. We recognize it is a heck of an achievement, and people are proud of it. But we need the riders that are going to be able to, get it done in, sub 9-10 hours. We can't have 12 and 14-hour riders out there. It's too overwhelming on our resources. To be honest with you, we kind of cut back on the 100-mile events for the past year or so, just because it just spread us too thin, particularly when we were traveling, doing the events out of town and things like that. But we do miss these ultra endurance gravel grinders. We haven't eliminated them all, but where we used to have them in almost every event, we've really narrowed it down to select events, and we want to roll out some more of our ultra endurance, because we think that's really what the roots of gravel grinding really are, is to get up in that 100-mile plus range for the folks that really want to test their own mettle. So we'll go more in depth on that over the course of the next couple months, but the ultra endurance events are definitely going to be a focus of ours, but we don't mean for our events to be training rides. We'll set up a few that are that way, that, hey, you want to go out and try a century, hey, let's lay out a long day for everybody, make a big party, and encourage people to stay after and cheer on people that are completing their first century. But it's not going to be each and every event that's set up that way. So along those lines, I'm going to show everyone some of the best ways to keep up with what we have in the works, what's coming down the pike, what we have planned, what level they might be planned at. And then we'll kind of go to the next level after that, and I'll show you what's ready to go and up and running, and where to look for things that are up and running and ready to go. For those of you that are familiar with Spinistryville and how things work, we are obviously very social media centric, particularly on the Facebook side of things. We're pretty darn active. We do a lot of different things to keep people in the loop. We need a dynamic platform to do that, and we found that Facebook is one of the best platforms for that. We do recognize that there are some people that don't like Facebook or are unable to use Facebook or refuse to use Facebook for certain reasons. Unfortunately, the vast majority of our audience is able to utilize Facebook, so that is where we're going to concentrate most of our information. I am going to do a better job in 2020 of keeping our website more complete and more up to date, but it's still never going to be nearly as dynamic as Facebook. So really, everyone's first stop to keep up with everything Spinistry should be Facebook. Our Facebook page is pretty popular and pretty active. But the best place to go for the details on the individual events, let me show you this. We'll go to the Facebook page, and probably my format looks a little bit different since I'm the page owner. But here's the main page for Spinistry. And just go to the event tab on the left-hand side on PC, on your phone, whatever. There's a link on top. It's one of our primary links is the events. You click on that, and it will show all of the events that we have scheduled. Now, I bring this up on Facebook to start with because on Facebook we have the flexibility of our rough drafts, our penciled items, our, hey, we think we want to do this now, we can put that in Facebook. When it gets more concrete, as far as we have a venue laid out, we know what our costs are for police or whatever else is involved, and we're able to open registration, then those events that are at that level they'll obviously be on Facebook, but they'll be on our website as well. But things that are in development that you want to maybe look down the road and see what lines up with your calendar, the Facebook events calendar is a really good spot to do that. Actually, that was more of my owner's events. Let's go to a user event and how you see our events. So upcoming events on Facebook, and this shows you how active we are planning to be. We'll pretty much have something scheduled almost every single weekend, an occasional weekend off here and there, but generally speaking, the weekends are my work week, our work week, and we don't expect anyone to be able to go to all the Spinistry events. Don't look at it that way. We're looking at actually almost the inverse of that. We recognize that people can't make every weekend. We recognize other promoters have events that you want to go to, things you want to travel to, and that's perfectly fine. We want you to go out and do the things that are fun. What we try to do is have an event that's available anytime it fits into somebody's schedule and they're looking for something to do. Obviously, we love it when you plan your weeks and calendars around the things that we do. That's fantastic. But we think we're almost always going to have an outlet for somebody that needs a gravel or endurance or a mountain bike fix for any particular weekend. We should have something going somewhere. And so along those lines, starting with this coming weekend, Rudolph's Revenge, technically that one's not a Spinistry event. That's put on by my friend Sean McAfee. He's been doing it for years. This is a mountain bike event, and it's a load of fun, and the people that ride it love it. Past several years, I've been helping him coordinate it. I handle the timing for him. We have, the registration tools and back end and stuff like that. So I do some of the administrative to help him facilitate his event, but this is a Sean event, and I'm happy to work with him. We worked together on the Lone Star XC over several years. I consider Sean, an excellent friend and a fantastic partner, so I'm happy to help him out. On Sunday, those of you that go back in the Wayback Machine with us, back to the mountain bike days, early 2000s, Camba, Fwimba, Dorba, Dirt Dogs. There was a one, just a cornerstone of the community. He was known as Truman, David Hill. He passed away unexpectedly a couple weeks ago. We're going to have a memorial service at Martin House Brewing. Anybody that's ever spent any time around Truman, we'd love for you to be there. We have quite a few people that are coming from out of town. Everyone's welcome to join us, though. We're going to celebrate his life. tell some stories over some barbecue and beer. And there's a good chance this will probably be more of a wake in a personality than a true somber memorial service, but I'm sure some tears will be shed as well. We'll keep an eye on the weather. There's a good chance we'll probably set up some sort of bicycle ride. The event itself is Sunday evening, 6 to 9 at Martin House Brewing in Fort Worth. Please do. Everyone's welcome. Please do come out and join us, and we'll get some more details on a potential Trinity Trails bicycle ride as we glance at the weather and the pieces come together for that. And then December 21st is our holiday ramble annual event, and we are last year we were able to utilize that bar that was next to the Fireworks World we've been using for years. That was a nice change of pace, but I'll be honest with you, it was a little bit smoky in there, a little bit uncomfortable, and I think the bar is now closed down again. So you know what? We're going back to our roots. We're moving right back next door and going back to Fireworks World. We're going to have food and drink and good times, and those cross timber forest dirt roads are some of y'all's favorites. So we're excited to be able to do that. And again, we will have a 100-mile route on that will qualify for that 14er achievement badge. January 4th, and here's an example. Right now that's a mountain bike race placeholder. We have a couple things in the works. I know that's not too far away, but anybody that's done cross-country mountain bike racing in North Texas over the past several years, you know how tricky it is to put on events with the weather patterns we've been having and the way our trails handle weather. We actually have a couple of options that we're working on for that date, and possibly even a third, depending on how weather may act before then. So right now we're pretty confident that we'll have a venue available for mountain bike racing on January the 4th, pending that weather lets us have a North Texas mountain bike race of some sort. That's why that one's still a placeholder. We recognize people are a little gun shy signing up for mountain bike events these days, and we don't blame you. We've been a little bit gun shy about actually even putting them on. So realistically, mountain bike races are probably going to come together that final week. We'll let people know what the venue is and what the format is, but we're not really expecting folks to start signing up until they see what the weather's looking like. And we'll see how this rolls out. We're shooting to have a mountain bike event the first weekend of every month for 2020, and most of them are going to just be placeholders until we get closer to the event. January 11th, we go back down to Shelby, Texas for the Shelby Winter Wonderland. Take care of our Central Texas folks. And that helps me lay out a little bit of a format that we're trying to work on for 2020. Generally, the idea will be each month to have one event in North Texas and one event in Central Texas. And North Texas and Central Texas are both fairly loose terms. There may be overlaps that get down towards Hillsboro or Waco or something like that. North Texas may stretch into lower Oklahoma from time to time. But just generally speaking, a northern event once a month and a southern event once a month. And right now, we don't forecast southern to go any more southern than Central Texas for the time being. That could change later in the year, but for what we have laid out prior to the summer, I wouldn't expect us to go south of Gonzales, south of Houston by much or anything like that. Going into summer, our current plan, and we'll do actually another broadcast specifically on this. Don't know the exact date range yet, but the general plan is for us to be in Colorado for the full summer and putting on Club Spinistry events most every weekend in different parts of Colorado. If you're planning to travel to Colorado sometime in the very near future, if you're planning to travel to Colorado for your own summer vacation, we're going to ask people to let us know what their travel plans are, and we may try to kind of use that as a general guide to, hey, well, then this week we'll be in this area and that week we'll be in that area, just to start roughing things out. But we'll talk about Colorado summer much more in depth just a little bit down the road here. So January 11th is a traditional open to the general public event. And then January 18th, and this is something else that we plan to do once a month. And sometimes if something comes up, for example, if a mountain bike race does get rained out or the trails are too wet and we're not able to hold it, we may turn that weekend into a Club Spinistry event of some sort. But we're going to try to have a Club Spinistry adventure ride scheduled for every month as well, an additional benefit for Club Spinistry members. And these will only be open to Club Spinistry members. A lot of these will be the longer multi-day events, point-to-point rides, bike packing trips, things like that. And some other things that we're going to throw in the mix I'll touch on a little bit here. But like for January 18th, well, going back to the mountain bikes stuff getting rained out, we were going to do our Turkey Burn 100 the Saturday after Thanksgiving, which was a 100-mile loop around Lake Grapevine, which included the mountain bike trail. So it was roughly 50 miles of paved roads to get you to each trail and about 50 miles of single track. So a 100-mile day or weekend. You could stretch it out over 2 days, and there was camping available. But we got rained out for the Saturday after Thanksgiving. So we've gone ahead and moved that same event for Club Spinistry to January 18th now. January 25th will be Texas Chainring Massacre. Registration is going hard and heavy on that. I think we're getting up towards 250 registered on that already, with well over a month and a half to go. That's probably the most we've had registered at this point ever before. And we are capped at 600 entries for that. That's basically all the town of Valley View can hold. That's more than the athletic field and school can hold for parking purposes, and gives us, I know some people will park in town and so forth. We think 600 will probably max us out for parking and restroom facilities, and realistically, our partners in the town, Whiskey Hollow Distillery, the Ryder Smokehouse, the pizza place, and I can't remember the new name. What's it called? Avalanche Bay Pizza and Firelight Vineyards. Realistically, 600 people is probably about all they can handle as well. So if you know Texas Chainring Massacre is on your want-to-do list, yes, there's plenty of spots open right now. I would not suggest that you wait until the last minute to register for that, though there's a good chance it'll probably sell out in early January. So and then we roll into February, and I'll speed it up from here. We'll give plenty of time to talk about these in more depth, but just to give an outline, show you how we're penciling things in. February 1st, that's our first weekend mountain bike race. February 8th, and registrations open on this. Venue is secured. We're going back to Regency Bridge Rumble. We have a new staging venue for it. The feedlot in Richland Springs. They have camping there. It's a feedlot. It's where you can go and get feed for your horses and things like that. But they also have a honky tonk bar in there, some really good burgers, a convenience drive-through convenience and beer store. It's a really neat place. And here's the best thing about it: for the Regency Bridge Rumble, launching from there, staging from there instead of San Saba proper, which we were going to miss. We love San Saba, and they were awesome to us. But our short route riders were not able to get to the bridge from San Saba. It was just physically too far away for a short route. From Richland Springs at the feedlot, our short route riders can also make it to the Regency Bridge. So we're very excited about that. February 14th, Valentine's weekend. This is already reserved as well. We're going to do a Mother Neff Club Spinistry adventure ride from Mother Neff State Park to somewhere else. That's kind of sort of a secret, but it's also kind of sort of, well, what we originally had in mind. The logistics on that were probably too much this early in the year. We're going to adjust it, but we have for Friday night, we have a really cool group camping facility reserved at Mother Neff State Park. The idea is folks will take the Amtrak train to the town nearest Mother Neff, McGregor, depart the Amtrak train, go to Mother Neff State Park, pedal their bikes to another destination, and then pedal their bikes back to the Amtrak station where they left their cars originally. This is going to be a really cool adventure, Club Spinistry adventure ride. The Amtrak part of it is very cool, but it's also going to be, for most of you, some really neat new roads. So that one's also a definite as far as date, because I have a non-refundable deposit on that camping facility. February 22nd right now is a placeholder. Again, this is for the Facebook reference. We expect to have one of our northern events on February 22nd. March 1st, first weekend mountain bike race. March 7th, this is penciled in right now, hoping to finalize this tomorrow, waiting for one piece to make this official and open registration for the 2020 Hill Country Hundy. But our tentative date for that is March 7th. March 14th will be left out of Land Run. This is not meant to take people away that want to do Land Run. Much like our Can't Do Kanza, pretty much the same concept. If you didn't make it into Land Run, and if you weren't able to get a transfer spot somewhere down the road or things like that, the idea is for people they can go ahead and plan way back, get their time off and everything like that. And if they don't make their way into Land Run, that's all right. Come on down and join us. We're going to have a good event, good long event for you to have fun with as well. So March 14th, for people that aren't able to get to Land Run 100, come join us for the Left Out of Land Run gravel riding party there. March 21st, International Grand Prix of Gravel. For all intents and purposes, this is official as far as things are secured with the date in the city. This is going to be in conjunction with the North American Handmade Bicycle Show. This is going to be a really neat format. We're going to utilize the Trinity River Levee Trails in the heart of Dallas, and we're going to do an urban multi-lap gravel grinder race. We expect registration to be opening January 1st on this. Need to coordinate some more pieces with the North American Handmade Bicycle Show on that and get a little more details finalized before we know exactly what everything looks like, but we're 85% of the way there, and we'll probably have it finalized this week. And again, we expect registration to open January 1st for this. You probably want to put this on your calendar for registrations. It's going to be extremely limited number of spots for this one. It's going to be extremely a lot of fun. It's going to tie in significantly with the North American Handmade Bicycle Show in many, many ways. So it's going to be a fantastic weekend to be in Dallas. April 11th, registration not open yet, but it will be very soon, and everything is in place for this year's version of the Red River Riot at 4R Ranch. April 18th, this is definitely penciled in and very much a placeholder. This could rotate. Most of these could rotate. Yellow Rose Rambler, just to keep our north-south rotations going. We kind of have that penciled in for April 18th. April 24th is penciled in for Dirty Fury weekend. First weekend of May, mountain bike race. May 9th, penciled in Hillsboro Hustle, not finalized at all. Club Spinistry Adventure Weekend for May. May 30th will be Can't Do Kanza. We'll definitely be doing that. We don't know exactly where. Have an idea for a new hosting venue for that, but it's under construction now. Hopefully it'll be ready by then. Probably need a couple months for the construction to finalize on that. June 6th is first weekend mountain bike race in June, probably our last mountain bike race until after summer. And then June 12th, tentatively for any Club Spinistry members that are thinking about doing the northbound tour divide, We may run a shuttle service for you, get you to Antelope Wells and drop you off. And then that's our likely date to take Club Spinistry members out to Antelope Wells if they want to do the tour divide. And then from there, we'll proceed up towards Colorado and start our Colorado summer. Maybe we'll throw in a New Mexico event on the way up to Colorado or something like that. July 4th, we do have an MTB placeholder. I don't expect that we'll utilize that, but just in case. July 19th is definitely going to be Hell of the North, Texas. I will be back in town from Colorado for that week and that weekend. A lot going on with that. Stay tuned. Lots of things to announce. And then it's pretty much just kind of some placeholders until we get to Rat Week. And we'll have a very detailed live cast on the Rat in the very near future. Lots of cool new things coming on with that. But one of them is what we're calling La Ruta Suave. That is basically a paved version of the Rat. It will not be a race, but it will share the same overnight destinations as our stage race and semi-supported Rat 1000. So we'll have a pretty big party at the Stage Town overnights is what we're thinking. We'll go into much more detail on that in the not too distant future. We also hope to have Rat 1000 and La Ruta Suave registrations open by January 1st as well. So that is the Facebook penciled in dates to give you some idea of, hey, anytime you want, what's going on in Spinistry world? Well, there's a lot going on, and this will give you some idea. Obviously, if you click on the individual events, more details for those individual events will be on those pages. Then, to see what's definitely going on, if you go to spinistry.net, spinistry.org, spinistry.com, they're all the same. And yes, I do recognize this website looks like something from 2005, maybe 2007. We do plan to work on that in the coming weeks and get our website up to date. But click here for next event. That's pretty straightforward. If you click on the calendar link, from this page, whenever you see something, if you see a sign up, you know registration is open. Rudolph's Revenge, registration is open. Holiday Ramble, registration is open. Shelby Winter Wonderland, registration is open. Grapevine Lake Adventure 100 Ride, Texas Chainring Massacre, Regency Bridge Rumble. So those are the ones where registration is open. Hill Country Hundy, like I said, I'm expecting that to come together probably tomorrow. And that'll just be a flick of the switch and we'll turn on registration for it. International Grand Prix of Gravel, that as well. Actually, we have everything up for that, but we are going to go with a registration launch date of January 1st. And this even includes some of our, and you'll see more of these as well, Spinistry Loop and the Safety 420. These aren't actual events per se, but these are access. This is access to routes to register for, and usually additional notes and detailed. So it's a self-service event, usually open to Club Spinistry members free of charge. But it's ones we need people to register for, if there's a lot of route information or details and things like that. So we actually expect to have more of these available pretty soon here. So again, calendar link on spinistry.org. That will show you all of our events that actually have registration up and running, and the dates are pretty much finalized. So an example of that, so if you click here for next event, it takes you to our current Holiday Ramble registration page. Registration is open for it. Again, it is a 100-mile 14er qualified event. At the moment, until midnight tonight, we have super early bird pricing still open on this. Club Spinistry members save 25% on this one. Club Spinistry members, any of our events that are our true events or Spinistry events, you're always going to have a Club Spinistry discount of some kind. Sometimes it's 100%. Usually it's in 20 to 25% range. Shelby Winter Wonderland, for example, that's a 50% savings. Now, what won't show up with those discounts is like Rudolph's Revenge. That's not technically not a Spinistry event. That's Sean's event. I'm helping him with it. It's not appropriate for me to discount his registration fees and take money out of his pocket to benefit my club members, our club members. And sometimes we do work with other promoters and other events and help them out. So if it's a true Spinistry event, Club Spinistry discounts apply. If it's something we're partnered with somebody else and it's really their event and we're just doing some administrative stuff or showing them, showing them the ropes on something that they might be doing, it's not appropriate for us to offer discounts on those events. So that's kind of the outline there. No, that's a lot of information. I went through it very quickly, but I just wanted to kind of paint a picture of the structure of how each month going into 2020 is going to be laid out. There's going to be something going on every weekend. No, we don't expect each and every one of you to show up for each and every event. We'd love for you to, make no mistake. We like seeing you guys. But we are the first to admit that variety is the spice of life. We want you to go to the things that you want to do. You don't. It's so funny. Sometimes people show up at my event. Oh man, I'm sorry I went to the such and such event and missed you. That's perfectly fine. You're not hurting my feelings at all. I want you guys to do the things that are fun. And hopefully we offer things that are fun for you most every weekend. And if it fits into your schedule, come join us. If you got other things to do, that's perfectly fine as well. The Colorado stuff we're really excited about. If you're going to Colorado this summer and you're not a Club Spinistry member yet, I can pretty much assure you want to have your Club Spinistry membership going into Colorado. Those events, there may be one or two exceptions, but almost every single one of those is going to be a Club Spinistry ride, and more than likely almost every single one of these is going to be at no extra charge than your existing Club Spinistry membership. Obviously, if we're utilizing a state park and their state park fees, you have to pay your own entry fees and things like that. But we'll get into that later down the road. It's going to be Club Spinistry Summer in Colorado is basically what it boils down to. So your Club Spinistry memberships give you a lot of benefits. We'll talk about those more in depth probably later this week. We're trying to finalize things with a couple more Club Spinistry partners going into 2020. It's always an ongoing process. We're always going to be adding more partners to help you guys out with. We have a couple deals that we're working on that we're hoping to finalize this week, and maybe later this week or next we'll be able to do a Club Spinistry benefits overview going into 2020. But rest assured, you will get your money's worth out of being a Club Spinistry member in 2020. I think everyone can agree they've already gotten their money's worth as it is, and we think it's going to be bigger and better going into next year. So going to go ahead and sign out now. Thank y'all for giving us your time. And as always, if you have any questions, feel free to post any comments here or send an email to spinistry@gmail.com. And I'm going to go ahead and sign off now, assuming Facebook lets me.